This is Generation Green's Wildflower Project, the podcast that starts conversations to create connections on this journey we're all doing called life. Together, we can grow through what we go through and bloom in spite of it all. So let's be like wildflowers and see where the wind blows us. Hello and welcome back to the Wildflower Project. I'm your host, Sherry Sobey, and I'm here with my co-host, Alison Gilbert.
Hello.
Hello. And we have the extreme pleasure of having a very, very special guest here today. Her name is Lisa Scrivens. For those of you that may not have heard of her, I don't know where you've been. Kind of a celebrity here in Winnipeg, but she is a Canadian medium. Now, do you say, hello, Lisa. Hello, first of all.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Do you say medium or do you say psychic medium?
I say medium, but some people will say psychic because it just gives you a better idea of who I am, because some people don't know what a medium is.
Yes. And I want you to kind of say this because even when I'm thinking about how to introduce you, I think you're going to say it best about who you are and what you're doing. Because when I think psychic, I think that's somebody that can predict the future or something like that, where I think medium is kind of like you're channeling. So what my understanding is that you can talk to spirit.
I sure can.
Yeah, and I got goosebumps just in saying that.
So a psychic is somebody past, present, future. A medium is somebody who can have direct communication with the other side. So people that have crossed over, transitioned, passed away, kind of all those words. And they're residing in a place that I like to call heaven, so that people can really understand or conceptualize that. But it is a different reality, and it's beautiful. And I want to be able to reach as many people as I can to spread this, I would say, evidence and proof that life exists after this life.
Yes.
And so, but it's not to say that your loved ones on the other side can't tell you stuff about your past, present, and future. So there's kind of this little mix, you know, when I'm doing a reading, they might say some stuff that happened when they were still alive. They also might talk about your life like here and now. So things that are happening just because they want you to know that they're still around you. And they may talk a little bit about your future if you're kind of standing at a crossroads.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. And so, and I mean, I think for a lot of people, and I think Alison definitely can, has said this and speaks really highly about this, and just the comfort, right, Alison, would you not say that you get, because you're so desperately looking for that in those moments, right?
Yeah, I called Lisa my lifesaver on many occasions. I still say it. For anybody listening who didn't hear the last podcast, I lost my daughter, Amy, 5 years ago, which it is not lost on me, Lisa, that this interview is happening 1 week before her 5th death anniversary.
Oh, wow.
It is not lost on me. I just find it ironic that it's
all coming together.
All coming together the way it is. And it's, you were my lifeline, and I just needed to know where my daughter was. I needed to know that she was okay. I'm not a religious person, but I feel that I'm a very spiritual person.
Yeah.
In other words, I respect everybody's beliefs, and you do what you need to do, and what you feel and what you believe is yours. Yeah. But I don't believe in organized religion, but I believe, like you say, there is far more out there afterwards than meets the eye. And so I needed to hear from my daughter, and she's come through loud and clear on many occasions.
Yeah. And I think the real neat thing about mediumship is that there's actual proof. And that's different than a lot of different religions or spiritualities. The mediumship, it's like, well, the proof is in the pudding kind of thing. And that's what I really love about it, is because we're not asking people to like blindly follow. We're asking people to just keep their minds open and really listen to what is happening. And I do remember the first time Amy came through. It was during a show called Heaven for the Holidays, and I was walking down an aisle, and I immediately stopped, and I actually said, like, is there Amy? And then I said Jordan.
You said Jordan first,
Jordan.
And nobody in the audience said a word.
Yeah.
And Lisa always says, it could be you. Do you know a Jordan alive or past? Because they could be saying, talking to a Jordan.
Yeah.
Nobody said a word out of, 300 people?
Yeah.
And I looked to my daughter, Brooklyn, who was with me, and I said, do you think middle names count? And then she right away said, or the name Amy. And I went, holy crap.
Are you kidding?
No,
Amy
so she
Jordan.
actually said Amy Jordan. And it wasn't like, I remember you're about 5 people away from me.
We were in the middle of the
so
row. Yeah.
they were in the middle of an audience and I was walking down the aisle. So I was almost right at their row. So it wasn't like I was standing at the, standing in kind of what I would call fishing for information. I was right next to her. There was maybe about 5 people between you.
Yeah.
And for her to say, her middle name and her first name, that's amazing.
Yeah, I just had the hair on my arm stand up.
And that stuff happens every day.
Wow. Okay, so tell me, when did this start for you? Like, did you take a course in it? Or no, I don't think so, right?
I always say I'm a medium school dropout.
Okay.
I never do well in those medium schools. Anyway, so when I was 3 years old, I could see and sense spirit. Lots of kids can, actually. I mean, I think most of us, if we opened our minds, we could have some communication with the other side. But it was something that ran in my family. My mom would talk about seeing her grandfather at the foot of her bed, and my grandmother would kind of teach me about that our family could see people from the other side. But it wasn't until I was in my teenage years that I started bringing intuitive cards to my friends' birthday parties, and I'd be like, I'll read your cards for your birthday. And so I just did a little bit of psychic work. And then I actually decided to become a social worker, and I worked in social services for 16 years, kind of minding my own business, had 2 children, doing my own thing. And then May 2012, I was driving in my car, and it was the most profound experience in my life. At that point, I've had many since then. And my grandmother, who's deceased, appeared to me in my car. And she said to me, Lisa, it's time for you to do this with your life. And I was like, are you kidding me? I've got a job, I've got 2 kids, I got a pension and benefits, and Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, I'm not leaving where I'm going. I had a really good social work job as far as I was concerned. And then, so by this time I was kind of shaking and all the hair on my arms was standing up, and I put my hand down on the
console.
Yeah. And I felt like her warm hand, touch my hand. And I was like, oh my God, it's really her. And then she said to me, if you don't believe me, take my picture. So I took my iPhone and I started clicking the passenger seat. And when I got home, I was shaking. I didn't look at my phone until I got home. I started flicking through the photos. There's about 25 photos there. And I was pinching it, kind of like you pinch your phone and you try to see, do I see anything? And I got to the very last photo, and there was literally a beam of light. It looked like Star Trek or something, just shining right through the passenger seat. And then I started to notice, that my ability to sense spirit was it went from 1 to 100. I could just sense spirit all the time around me. So I kind of was okay, I'm going to honor my grandmother, and I'm going to do this 1 day a month. So
how'd that work out for you?
Yeah. So I basically rented a room out of a little hair salon in Corden, and I just called this lady off Kijiji, and I'm I only need it 1 day a month. And she was it's $40. I'm done. I'll give you $40, then I'll rent this thing. And so I rented this room, set my little cards up. I was still reading intuitive cards because it was something to hold on to, kind of thing. And then the very first day I had 8 people come, which is odd because now that I'm in the city, if nobody knew who you were, why would 8 people come your very first day? Mm-hmm. So I booked my first day, and 8 people came, and that's really how my business was built. So those 8 people went, and told everybody, oh my gosh, there's this lady who knew all these things. It was so easy for me. I could just sit across from a person and tell them their whole life and who was with them, and they were just blown away. And it blew me away too. And I still get amazed every single day. So it doesn't get old for me.
Really?
And so from there it kind of went to 2 days a month, and then 4, and then I did some evenings, and I was doing some home parties. And then it just got so big so fast. So within the year, I left my job as a social worker, and then I started doing it full time. And then, so that was 2013. And so now, so since then, I've been doing live events. So I've probably done over 250 live events. I have literally the longest wait list of any medium in North America.
Yeah, I've heard it's like 2 years.
Well,
it's 4, isn't
it's
it?
about 4.
Stop
Yeah.
it.
I mean, we have a lottery system, but there are people that have been waiting 3 or 4 years. So it sits around about 6,700 people right now.
Okay,
And-
stop for 1 sec. Just think about that, eh? I mean, these are people that are, just needing to connect, needing to feel some kind of comfort. Mm-hmm. Oh, that just...
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. But you know what? I find different ways of connecting with people because I can't possibly get through everybody. And so I have a Facebook group that I've started to help connect people. I have Instagram and all that. And I actually get on it and really connect with people there. I do day-long workshops in which I spend a whole day with certain groups of people. So like, let's say people that have lost their children. So I'll spend a whole day with parents, or people that have lost their partner, and I'll spend a full day with them. And part of the day is for them to learn how to use their intuition and how to connect for themselves. And the other part of the day, they get a reading. So there's lots of different ways to connect with me. And my goal in my life is to connect with as many people as I can.
Wow.
And so that's my goal. And the reason is I just have this passion, and it's like a burning passion, because we all have our passions in our life, to have people see the power of spirit and believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and
I'm
I'm
it
sure
like drives me from the moment I get up until I go to bed at night.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So do you get drained from it? Like, do you get like to the point where it's like, leave me alone? Like, can you turn it off?
I can turn it off.
Okay.
So most of the time when I'm not working, I can't sense spirit. I just kind of shut it down. I kind of like say I'm like shutting down the Starship Enterprise.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm in Walmart or Costco or whatever, I'll feel them kind of brush against me or kind of play with the back of my hair. For the most part, though, I try to live like, people leave their work at work, and I feel like I do enough connecting and working that I still need some time for myself. Mm-hmm. And that's an important part of what I do, is actually taking care of me too, because it really could drain me if even though I have this passion, I also have to take care of myself so I can continue to be here for other people. I think that's important.
And that was my next question too, is how do you look after you? Because it's not just... It's not just spirits that are always like tapping you on the shoulder.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of, I was one of them.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of sadness in front of you. You've got devastation. You've got weeping, devastated parents, spouses, friends, people who have lost them. That takes its toll on anybody. Well, I can't watch a movie without crying. So, I mean, how do you deal with you?
I have a good therapist.
And we had this conversation not long ago. We think everyone in the world should have one.
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge advocate for it.
Yeah.
It will be
everyone
a much better
needs
place.
Therapy.
Yeah.
Well, and the truth is I do lots of different things. So I meditate every day. I do floating. So there's float tanks involved. I play crystal singing bowls. I have a whole set in my house, which are really cool.
Wow.
And so I play those on a regular basis. I play with my kids. I have lots of fun, and I have really good friendships and people that really support me. So
that's good.
I get help when I need it in regards to like help around the house and like, I
think that's the key, right?
I get the world to kind of support me so that I can do my mission.
Yeah.
So
you need to be able to ask for the help, though, and so many people don't. They try to keep it to themselves. I can do this.
True. I always ask for the help that I need.
Very wise.
People, I think of it this way. When somebody asks me for help, I want to help them. There's something in my heart that really wants that, and so I can do the same and ask for help, and those people really want to help me too. So
that's true.
It's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Because it feels good to help, right?
Absolutely.
So you're giving those people a gift by allowing them to help you.
True.
It's a very good way of looking at it.
Never thought about it like that either.
No.
Yeah.
See, I told you she was wise.
Yeah, because I've had a hard time asking for help.
Yeah,
I've
same
been
here.
pretty independent, pretty strong-willed that way. It's like, I can do it. I can take care of myself. I can,
Yeah.
But I never thought about it that way. Yeah, that sometimes it makes them feel good to.
Well,
to be
think
able to
about
help you.
how good it is to help others. You got to give people that gift to help you.
Yeah. But with you and with your gift here, I mean, because it is obviously a gift.
I think so.
Oh, totally. I mean, I don't know how many of us would love to be able to do that. And I know that there was something you had done, Alison, that Lisa offers, where you do try to get people to tap into that.
Yeah, that was what I talked about the last time. That was one of the other things too, is Lisa mentioned to me on my very first reading that oftentimes we get to see her, not because we're on a wait list, but because our loved one knows and somehow gets us through and gets us to the top of the list through whatever means. And mine was an appointment appeared online that didn't exist, but you honored it because, and I emailed saying, I can't get my credit card to work. Here's the 2 dates that I picked, but I can't get my credit card. And you said, well, there are no 2 dates, but that means you're supposed to come see us.
Yeah. Is that really how it happened?
Yeah, that's how I first got to see you.
Oh, wow.
And then for Amy's 25th birthday, I mentioned this, I'm repeating myself because I said this in my last podcast, but for Amy's 25th birthday, birthdays were huge to her, and they were big to me because of, I knew how much this would be a big one for her. I knew she'd love her 25th. She'd make a big deal of it. She'd expect a big deal. And I spent the Sunday before her birthday, which was on a Friday, sobbing and screaming and yelling. I was mad at her for not fighting hard enough to live. I was mad at the world. I was hating the man that killed her. I was just like in a rage. And I said, I just want to spend the day with you. And the next day I went to work, and a friend of mine who also has seen you on a few occasions said, did you see Lisa's email? And I went, no. And it was, spend the day with Lisa Scrivens, learning how to connect with your loved ones. And so I waited an hour and a half to book it because I didn't think I have any gifts, so why would I take this course? And my friend said, book it. So I went in there and I did. And your receptionist at the time, or your assistant at the time, said to me, we had so many people trying to book and they were having such a hard time booking and they couldn't book it, but yours went through.
Yeah, so just meant to be.
Amy again. And the reading was on September the 18th, which was Amy's 25th birthday. So my begging her to spend her birthday with her, I did. I spent it with her through you.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is like freaky.
So it ended up being like on her birthday.
It was on her birthday. It was September the 18th from 9 to 4. And I just was in awe the entire...
Yeah, that you managed to get in.
Yeah, that's magic happening on a different level, right?
Yeah, it's not even, I don't even know it was magic. Yeah, magic, I guess. But I knew it was her. She did that. She arranged the whole thing, especially when your assistant said a few other people had called in trying to book it, saying they were having trouble.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
So what about, like, has there ever been an opportunity where you just can't connect with somebody, that even though somebody is like hoping you can?
It doesn't happen too often, but every once in a while it does. And I would say, like, when you call somebody and they answer the phone 9 times out of 10, there might be a time where they don't answer the phone. And, we all have lives in the afterlife, so we get busy. I would say it probably happens about once a year.
Really?
So
you can just call them up. Like, what do you have to do something to prepare?
I do. I sit in a meditation. It's about a half an hour, and it's opening up all the chakras, not to get too spiritual, but and it's a sound meditation. And then once that's done, then I'm ready to go. And then at the end of the day, I kind of close up and ground. And so what it actually does is raise my vibration to a point where I can hear them. So it's kind of like tuning into a radio. And they have to lower their vibration because their energy is vibrating too fast and too high. And once they learn how to do that, it's really easy for me, but hard for, I'm sure, other people.
Yeah. And I remember being in the group session with Alison, and I remember you spent a lot of time, you were scribbling things, drawing things. Yeah. Sometimes you were smelling things, right? Yeah. There's different ways that it all comes through.
Yeah. So there's all these different ways that things come through. So I'm seeing things, like kind of like I'm watching a movie. Sometimes I'm hearing things, tasting things. Like the other day I was reading this family, and all of a sudden I taste dill pickles in my mouth. And I guess their loved one loved to drink pickle juice.
Seriously.
So they were like, that's Dad. Dad drinks pickle juice. And it was a thing. They would always leave him the pickle juice.
That is so funny.
And so it was like a thing or a joke they had. So he had me taste pickle juice in my mouth, and just stuff like that happens every day. I had a lady the other day, and all of a sudden I had like all these pigs around me, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, why do I have all these pigs? And she worked for some kind of pork company or pork association.
Oh my goodness.
And so I was like, oh, your husband's showing me pigs. So
wow.
Yeah. So it's there's some pretty amazing stuff that happens, and it like literally happens every day. So, there could be somebody, say you're there and your child's at home having, with a babysitter. Sometimes your loved ones can even say what your child's doing while you're sitting there getting the reading. Like, stuff like that happens. It's just amazing. It blows me away.
Yeah, it's blowing me away just like imagining it.
Like every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real gift.
And I think that's why, like when you're saying there's lots of sadness, and I think that part counteracts it for me.
So it's a good balance.
The part that it's like, yes, like these people got the validation and the proof that they needed. And sometimes that's all you need. Mm-hmm. It makes your heart a little lighter, and that you can finally believe that your person is on the other side.
That is absolutely true, because from the day I saw you, that was my turning point. That was several months after Amy had died.
Yeah.
And that was my turning point in my grief journey.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was over by a long shot. It never will be. Mm-hmm. But it was the sink or swim.
Yeah.
I tread water a little higher that day. And it's been a little bit more ever since, because I just had proof.
Sometimes it just gives you that, like, okay, they're okay over there, and it just takes a little bit of the edge off the grief. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think even if you haven't, lost somebody, I think there's always that question, in your mind, and you're constantly second guessing it. And again, I'm not really one that followed a specific religion and would consider myself spiritual as well. But it was a long struggle for me for for many, many years, where I kept questioning things and validity of things, and, really wanted answers. And just for that, like, to know that there's more after this, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, this can't be for nothing. I'm not doing all this for nothing, right? Mm-hmm. It didn't feel right in saying there wasn't, but it's like, can I have some proof here, please? Just a little bit. Mm-hmm. And for me, it definitely, in that one session, I mean, there was things there that you were saying that were like, holy mackerel, like there really is another place, like she's really talking to her. And for me, I was just like blown away with that, because I was pretty skeptic. Yeah. And I'm sure you deal with a lot of skeptics. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's definitely one where it's like, okay, I'm just going to wait and see what happens here. Mm-hmm. And when you saw certain things, like I remember it was about Amy having a brain bleed, like you were seeing something like that, and then that feeling of flying through the air, and those things is like, okay, there's no way, like, she could just know that. Like, is so specific.
Yeah, because what got me was that the most skeptic person in that entire room was my girlfriend, who was Amy's Auntie Kelly. And I think she was probably the most skeptical. Mm-hmm. And she was the one that I felt badly at the end of the session, because I felt like she got picked on a little bit, because her her cousin came through at the very, very beginning, even before Amy did. And he had killed himself with a shotgun. I mean, I was expecting, I said this before too, when I came to see you, I was skeptical as well, even though I believe in this.
Sure.
but I didn't know you,
Absolutely.
right? So who am I going to? I'm skeptical. I'm going to test you. So I even think I came in using my husband's last name, not my own, and because I don't want you to know. I needed to know, and it was so funny because the first person who came through, I'm expecting you to say heart attacks or cancer, because everybody knows somebody who's died of that, right? This is the skeptical part of me, but no. A 22-year-old or 21-year-old, I can't remember what you said, and you named him, bang on, you called his name, and who killed himself, and it was with a shotgun. And I mean, the details were minute. Yeah. They were minute, and
I think that, like, the incredible part about that is when you come in a group reading, you're only booking under one name.
Yes.
So let's just say that, and you booked under whatever, a fake name or whatever. And then, so I don't know who's going to be in the group with you.
Exactly.
You can bring 8 unrelated people or 6 unrelated people. I have no idea who those people are sitting in the waiting room. And that's what I love about group readings. And I just have a funny story about, like, names. And so I had this lady write me one day, and she said, I can't make my appointment tomorrow. I'm sending my husband because I think he could use this. Do you need me to tell you anything about him?
Oh, no.
And I was like, no. And sometimes I think to myself,
that's
right?
funny.
Like, it was like, do you need to know anything about him? Because, like, she was thinking this better be good, right? Like, she's sending him. And I just said, no, actually, I don't need to know anything about him. I don't even need his name. And very often people will book the appointment and then send other people. Like, they'll have people that they know really need the appointment. Yeah. So somebody will come in.
Right.
And you know what? You can book it under John Smith. It doesn't matter. Like, to me, I mean, the reason we need the name is if I have to cancel or if something happens, I actually need to, like, contact you. But, or my administrative assistant. But actually, and this is even more of a thing, I don't know. I don't look at my schedule during the day. I just walk out to the waiting room, and whoever's sitting there is like, "Oh, are you here for Lisa Scrivens? Okay, come on in." Like, I don't know who you are. Yeah. You know, I don't need to know.
I felt like it was validation, though. I felt like it was almost like this young man spirit, and Amy had kind of sat down and chatted, and Amy had said, "She's not going to buy any of this, so you go first."
Yeah. And then Kelly actually got called out too, remember?
Oh, she did. Amy picked on her terribly.
Called her out on something that she had been hiding. It was something about a car accident, wasn't it? Because she felt so guilty because of this, right? Like, it all came out, and it was like oh my
you weren't paying attention when you were driving, were you?
Yeah.
Kelly's just going first gray.
Yeah, because she hadn't shared this with you even.
And then she didn't share it with anybody other than Autopack. She said not her family, nobody.
Yeah.
And because she had been distracted. Yeah. Well, she bumped into a car or something, and into a parked car. And so Amy called her out on it. And then she called her out on her health. She called her out on a problem with her knee and her ears. And it was like, stop picking on her already, Amy.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes, and for me, I always say to people, like, I don't have anything to prove because, you know, it's not about believing in me. It's, you know, Spirit wants you to believe, and it's okay if people are skeptical. It's okay if they don't believe, because I don't believe everything that everybody tells me to. Right. So there is room for people that are skeptical and room for non-believers, and I'm okay with that. Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, if people come in and for whatever reason they stay not believing, because, you know, the truth is some people will come, you know, somebody will come to my door and ask me to believe something. And to be honest, no matter what they say, I'm not going to believe them. You know, so I extend the same courtesy to other people, because sometimes it doesn't matter what you say. They're going to find a reason to not believe. Right. So, yeah, like that I really have time to look up people. Yeah. I really don't. I barely have. How could you? I have 2 children. I don't have time to pee.
Yeah, exactly. And how could you look up, like you say, when you're getting a group session come in with one person's name, you don't know who the other people are. Right. And they're sitting in front of you. How are you getting this information?
Yeah. I don't know. But that's kind of the, you know, that's the amazing part about mediumship. It's just the part that I love. So.
Well, you've taken it a step further too, and you like to give back wherever possible, and you do wonderfully well at it. And are you still doing I think it was Fridays you dedicated to?
Yeah. So I have this.
About that.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So I got this really neat thing that I do, and I volunteer with palliative cancer patients. So every Friday, they come and I do energy work on them. So it's kind of like, if people have heard of like Reiki or healing touch, it's kind of my own brand of it. I don't know. I've never really been taught, just like the same as mediumship. And I work with people through their cancer diagnosis and into either a miracle, which happens, and also into their transition or their passing. And in 2012, I had a lady, and her name is Mary, because she's my inspiration. She wrote on my Facebook page, and she said to me, Lisa, I really need to see you, but I don't have the time and I don't have the money because I'm dying. And so I told her to come on in for a reading. I gave her a reading, and then I thought, I want to see you again. And we just started talking. And so through that, she came to see me many times, and I started having this inspiration that I needed to heal her with my hands. And so that's kind of how that started. And so at any given time, I have between like 7 and 12 clients. And so I volunteer my Fridays. So I am really busy, but I always take time to give back, and I've actually given back to the community every chance I can get. Wow. And so that's something that I don't really kind of advertise, but I think I was saying to my assistant the other day, I've been doing this for years. Like I probably give away, 50 to 60 readings to all the different organizations in the city. Basically everybody kind of gets a reading. I give it back, every week. I mean, for a whole day. And then so in previous years, I've done a huge fundraiser for the Never Alone Foundation for about 4 years in a row. And this year I'm doing a fundraiser for mental health. So that's going to be on October 13th or October 12th. I'm not sure. It's a World Mental Health Day. And it's just in the works. So we haven't got all the details, but it will be an event, and it will go towards mental health support.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
So
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that just really reinforces, when you talk about that, this is your passion, and you just really genuinely want to help people however you
Absolutely.
can. And I never even thought about that on being someone that is going to be transitioning, especially someone that's in palliative care, and just how scary a time that is, and so the comfort that you could be bringing to them in that moment. Hadn't thought about that either.
Yeah, but I have to tell you, and this is the other thing that I want people to believe, is that miracles happen. And I've seen people come back from a very difficult diagnosis to now working.
I met one of your miracles.
Yeah. And so through this hands-on healing technique, and I haven't been willing to talk about it. So this is my first time publicly talking about it.
Oh,
and
thank you for sharing.
I will, is that through some of these times, there have been people that have had tumors either shrink or disappear through this work. And I think I've always felt shy to talk about it, but it has happened. And they go back to work. So
amazing.
And it's happened. And so when I work with people, when they come to me, I say, well, it's not up to me, what's going to happen. Your life and what you're learning and everything is what it is. But I'm going to help you through this journey. And there's what the doctors say, but there's always room for miracles. And you have to walk down the path of both of those things, through the miracle and also through the reality of things. And so if you can hold both in each hand, then we can do this journey together. And it's beautiful. I've had beautiful moments.
Oh, no kidding.
I've worked with kids. My youngest little guy right now is 7. And I'm working with a 40-year-old mother right now with brain cancer.
My gosh.
So just all these things. And they give me as much as I give them, because when you're dying and you're dying, there's no time for pleasantries. There's only time for real connection and growth. So we just have these amazing moments together, and my Fridays are like soul days for me. So
amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think, it's like so hard to just sit here just in awe. Like, it's just, and you can just feel that warmth and that genuineness from you too, like being around you. And I've seen you at IM Festival as well, and seeing people's reactions is like amazing. And I've seen people, just in tears because of that breaking down, like maybe they wish they had said something, and you saying they knew, what have you. That immediate comfort is just, I saw a couple people like that where it's like they just needed that so badly. And I'm so happy that you have this ability. Really, I mean, I have like hardly words here.
And
I'm just in awe.
I think that, to be honest, I think sometimes mediums and psychics have bad names, right? Like they are, scamming people or preying on people's vulnerabilities. And so there is kind of out there. And, I've met some of those people. So I know what people are talking about. Like, it's just, they're out there to whatever. But it's like, there are real people out there that are really doing this work and have, the best, interests of everybody. Like, I read every letter that comes in to my office, every letter, and I care about the people that come in. And I think that's the difference. Like, people know that. Like, I don't just
it shows. I
don't just say that. And, I have integrity through my entire business. And I think that's important too. I was saying to my administrative assistant, her name's Melanie. Hi, Melanie. She's probably going to watch this. And I said, Melanie, I wonder if people even know, like, from the time they book an appointment to the time they see me, and even after, like how many safeguards I put in place so I know nothing about them. But it's all behind the scenes. And I'm like, you know what? Nobody even knows that I because I said to her, we should do like a little page called Giving Back so people can see like how much I give back to the community. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me forever to put together. And I'm like, I just think sometimes people are quick to judge and think, oh yeah, she just wants money or whatever. But it's like, no, like, this is about like supporting me to support the world.
Yeah. No, and I think anybody that could spend even 5 minutes with you, you can feel that. And I mean, I've always felt like I had good intuition and good instincts on people, and I immediately felt that, even just that genuineness, like very, very quickly with you. So I think anybody that would spend time with you can see that, because yes, there are those. And we've all heard of them, seen them, what have you. So, I mean, it's good to be skeptical in some ways, right? It's good to be cautious.
It is.
Well, it is, because there's people out there who are, and not just in this, but in any business. We've met them everywhere, no matter where you go, in what business, what industry, what passion. There are always people who are ready, willing, and able to take advantage of it.
Yeah. And then there are also really good people.
And then there are
and there are real. And
they're real.
I had an opportunity to go down to San Diego, and I went and I did some training with James Von Prague, he's a medium down there. And so I was in a room full of people that were, mediums and psychics, and people were trying to, hone their skills or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, there are a lot of people that don't know what they're doing, and they, they don't have integrity. And it's like, okay, now I can see why people might be skeptical.
Yeah. But what I've said,
they have this joke. It's like, your loved person loves you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so that's kind of like sometimes what, we're getting, and there's more to it than that.
Yeah. And I think like one of the things I've always said too is if somebody doesn't have that genuineness in whatever they're doing, in any sort of business that they're doing, because I mean, obviously it is a business for you now.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that genuineness, what your reason is for starting that, for doing that, it's going to backfire on you eventually, right? Yeah. It's not going to be anything. People will catch on
Yeah.
Right?
That's the karma part.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes I've had people approach me like they want to be my business manager, or they want to do, kind of take me and like, oh, we'll do this for you or do that for you. And I just say to them, like, they are my business manager.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. They tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So when I'm sitting in, the quiet and I've closed my eyes and I'm really listening to them, they tell me, put these workshops on for grieving people, travel here, do this. They run the show up there, and I just follow. And as long as it's in line with my heart, we go for it. So they're my team.
So, and would you say then that you have like some go-to advisors? Like there's some like specific ones that you're communicating with?
My grandmother is one of my guides.
Yeah.
And she is with me all the time. It's interesting. Some of the palliative patients I've worked with have been some guides for me during certain points. So we were really close here, and then they go over there, and then they help me out. So that's what happens. And this is really interesting. I have a lady that I read for when her daughter died, and her daughter has become my guide over the last 5 years or something like that. Yeah,
really?
Since 2012. So she just started following me around, and it was like relentless. And then one day I turned to her daughter, who's on the other side. I said, why? Like, why do you keep following me? And she said, I'm your guide. It's like, what? But really, I mean, even though we have an age here, our souls don't have an age. And so
like when you die, are you that age in heaven?
No, like your soul has all the wisdom of all of who you've been and who you're about to be. There's not really
an age, is there?
But when they kind of show themselves to me, they'll show themselves to me usually the age they were when they passed away, so that we can recognize them.
Okay.
Because if let's say your dad passed away when he's 20, and I said, oh, there's, somebody here that's 60, you'd say, oh, well, my dad passed away when he was 20. So you have to, they're going to come through in a way that we can recognize them, so we know who we're talking about. They don't really have an age. But.
Okay.
That's very cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really cool.
What about like pets?
I love animals. Okay, so I did, so I'm going to tell this story. I did a event called Somewhere Over the Rainbow Bridge, and it was all pets, and it was here in Winnipeg. First of all, it was the saddest event I've ever done. Like, people love their animals so much.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like one dog and cat after another. And so pets can actually show me who they were. Because remember, people communicate through thought and feelings. And so the pet can actually show me like what color they were, sometimes say their name, how they died. But the really funny part of that night was, I was reading and I kind of stopped in the crowd. It was like my first time doing just all pets all night. And I said, I wish you guys could see what I see. I said, I have a horse here and I have a dog here and a cat here. And I looked down and there's a chicken.
Oh my gosh.
A chicken. So I said to them, there's a chicken down here. And I started laughing. And this husband kind of hit his wife and he said, I told you your pet chicken would come through.
Oh my gosh.
And so this woman had a pet chicken. Honest, and her pet chicken's name was Henny Penny.
Henny Penny.
Oh, of course.
And so she actually, I read her chicken in front of everyone, her personal love chicken.
So
and she posted a picture of Henny Penny on my Facebook page. So it is a true story. I read a chicken.
Oh my gosh.
And chickens actually have as much consciousness as a dog and a cat and a horse. So just so everybody's aware, it made me feel very guilty. I'm really sorry for eating chicken.
Oh, really? Wow.
But I love chicken.
Yes.
Are you a vegetarian?
I am.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. Are you a vegetarian?
No? Well, no, I'm trying to eat more plant-based though, so it's kind of now turning me off. Actually, we were just having a conversation, my son and I, on the way here, because I have an all-vegan cafe.
Yeah.
And we made the most amazing tofu chicken nuggets, right?
Yeah.
They were Southwestern fried tofu nuggets. We did them in a wrap with less. Oh my gosh. I could just eat that. Yeah. It tasted like chicken and it looked like chicken.
Do you own an all vegan cafe?
Yeah, inside my store, inside Generation Green, we have Acorn Cafe. So
it's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good.
So you have experience with plant-based food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Well,
So, then you don't have a reason to not be vegan.
No, I know I don't. The more I've learned, okay, and again, like when I started Green Store, it was about more like what was safe for me. Okay. I was dealing with a health issue at the time. So it was like, okay, I need safe skincare and I need safe cleaning products. And it just kept snowballing.
Yeah.
And then when I started learning about the environmental factors and all that, and then my staff, majority of them are vegan, and they're saying, okay, we really shouldn't get that because it's not vegan. I said, well, we're not a vegan store. Well, if we're a green store, we should be a vegan store. Like they're just took a lot of educating, I think, to come around to this. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I really do need to incorporate more vegan or plant-based stuff into my diet. And I say this all the time. My business it's like very self-serving in a way, because it's like all the things I need. And so it keeps on going. It's like how this Wildflower project, I need to connect. I need my tribe. I need my community. I need to grow that. And I need to talk about all these amazing people that I'm meeting. So it just keeps on growing. So it's all about the things that I want and need. Yes. So I love it. Anyways, yes. Okay. So chicken, don't eat it. They have a conscience.
They so
absolutely do.
Yeah. But I can totally believe that about the pet thing, though.
I think I love the name.
Henny Penny. I'll never forget Henny Penny.
No kidding. That would be a memorable one.
I've heard you read like horses and cats and dogs before. My dog was one of them. But
really? I've never read a fish.
Oh. Yeah.
So maybe we can eat
Maybe there isn't a fish.
I'm joking.
Maybe there's your limit.
Yeah. But you know what? I've had that happen there, like as my dog passed away, and I was like so attached to this dog. And I have actually, and it's been quite some time now because I have a new dog now, but before we had her, I could smell him. Like all of a sudden I was be like, was Duff there? Like I could just, I could feel him and I could smell him. Just moments of it. Like that. So,
and that's a psychic sense of smell. It's something that you have, right?
So do we all really have this ability?
We do.
Really?
Yeah, not to the same extent.
Yeah.
Like some people are born to play the piano, and I could probably take a piano class and learn how to play hot cross buns. Right? But I could learn, but probably I would never be a concert pianist, right?
Right.
And so I think there's things that people can do definitely to learn how to increase their psychic sense. And so that sense of smell, people will talk about like smelling cigarette smoke, smelling perfume, smelling their person, what their person smelled like. So that's a common one.
Well, I think it's also, I don't think I really want to do it. I want to be there with somebody else doing it. So like, okay, you obviously got this down. You can handle it. You can do it. I don't know if I could handle that. Right. Yeah. So I think there's also that too, what you open yourself up to. But I do agree with you. Like, it's like you have your God-given talents, right? You have these gifts that we all have, right? Yeah. Different types. Yeah. So I totally can appreciate.
Well, what is it? We're using less than 10% of our brains.
Right.
That's a lot of brain out there.
Yeah. And I think science one day will be able to figure out how I can do what I can do. Yeah. I would love them to, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to know how I get that information, how it happens, what energetically happens.
Part of you is open to that, where it isn't to like 99% of the population.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know that day course that I did with you, I found that really interesting because I went into it feeling guilty because I felt like I was using you almost, not using you, but the course in the day, because I felt like a charlatan. I don't have these abilities. Why am I taking this? And you said right in the write-up, I think, you don't need to have what you think is the abilities. I mean, like I was validated going into it, but in my mind, I kept thinking, no, I don't belong here. But by the end of it, when you had us turn to our neighboring person sitting, whoever we were sitting next to, and say, okay, do a reading on them, it was kind of freakish.
Yeah.
It was kind of freakish. When I actually focused and could shut my brain up, because I really have a hard time shutting up in my brain, but I looked at her and started, I just saw this open road, and I saw like a motorhome going down there, and she was planning a trip. And I just kind of went, whoa, cool.
Yeah. And I think sometimes if we've had a really big loss, that's when you might want to take a class like that, because people just want to connect for themselves too. It's good to have a medium, but it's also good to learn how to do some of that for yourself so that you can still feel close to your person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of my rants that day, right before the Sunday before Amy's 25th birthday. Was part of my rant was, how can I can't keep going to Lisa. I can't keep relying on you. You know, I can't always go to you. I know you can't always get me. There's other people who need Lisa more than me, but I want you. I want to talk to Lisa. Yeah. But there's other people who need you more. And so I was like, how can I do this? And that's
why I think those days are important too, is because I think we all have that ability to connect. And so, you know, not everybody's going to become a medium, but wouldn't it be nice to talk to grandma once in a while, or at least feel like if you ask grandma a question, that you feel like you can get some sense of an answer from her? Or, you know, if you lose your daughter, you can feel some closeness that, you know, I taught one father, and he used all of the techniques that I've given him over the years. And he can now have this very fluid relationship with his daughter. And he said one night he was sitting there watching TV, and he said to his daughter on the other side, like, what do you want to watch? And she popped an orange into his head. And he thought, oh, you want to watch Orange is the New Black? Okay, so we're going to watch that. And so spirit talks through thought and talks through ideas. So he's learned how to kind of master that. So I think if you can do some simple things, then you can learn how to do that for yourself. Because the thing is, you don't always need a medium.
Yeah, it's paying attention.
It's paying attention to those signs and symbols.
Yeah, you taught me that as well, because I was always feeling this.
The brushing on the back.
On the back of my hair, and I feel it all the time.
Yeah.
But I never knew what it was, and I asked you about it one day, and you said, "Well, that's Amy."
Yeah.
And I went, "What?"
It's kind of like a little tickle on the back of your neck,
and it's just,
goosebumps down one side of your body.
It's like she's just kind of like just
touching,
lightly rubbing my hair.
Yeah.
Really?
And I know it's her because it's always on this side, not on this side. When it's on the other side, I know it's somebody else, but. This side.
She's a medium. Look at her.
But I start paying attention, and the signs are coming through, and I'll hear something, or I'll see something, and I'm starting to pay attention now when I get in the car and I turn the radio on and I go, oh, good one, Amy, because there's a song that's just playing, for you. And I'm going, you could not be more right.
Yeah.
Like, boy, did I need to hear that now.
Well, I think when you change your perspective on things, or when you open yourself to believing something or wanting something, probably more than anything, it starts to see, it's like, it's about manifesting as well, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. When you put your focus on something, it's like you start seeing things you didn't see before, because that's where your focus is. See, I've never entertained the idea of having a conversation in it with anybody that's passed, only because I guess I never really believed that you could, but also because I don't know if I ever had those kind of connections with people that were in my life at one time that may have passed. Like, I didn't know my grandmother when she passed. Like, we had been... I just didn't grow up with her. My husband's grandmother, when she passed away, I was very close with her. But at the same time, I was like, okay, you know what? She lived a good life. And I was just like, I was okay with it. Amy was probably the first one where I was like, okay, I have trouble with this one for sure. But I don't know. I think I immediately tried to just find a place to process that, to figure it out. But I did find comfort. And I have to have her picture in my store, in my office, because I feel like she's watching over things, because we started this together, right? And there was one thing that drove her crazy that I did, and I can no longer do it. And it was like when you're counting out the money and putting it in the till. And I used to just like count it and put it. And she'd say, Sherry, it annoys me that you don't put all the heads the right way. And I'm like, oh, but what's the big deal, right?
Because all the heads have to go the same end.
Apparently they do.
I get this.
And I will stop myself and I will start it over and put them all in the right way now, and I can't even help it. It is bizarre. But I do find myself talking to her in the store, especially. What do you think? What should we do here? What would you say about this, right? And I do. That's the only time, though, that I really ever wanted to be able to hear from somebody again, I suppose, or know that they were okay, or know that they're still there. And I really do feel that she's watching over. I genuinely do. I feel like she's there because there's no way she would ever want it to go. Absolutely. You know, to be not be a part of it still. Yeah. So I just
Amy called Sherry second mom.
Yeah, well, because I had 3 boys, right? I had 3 boys. I have 3 boys. And I always wanted a girl. And she kind of looked like the girl that I envisioned having. And yeah, so I used to always say, you know, you're just like the daughter I had dreamt of having. Mm-hmm. And because I had actually lost my first baby that was a girl, I just kind of thought that maybe, you know, somehow you were just like that baby that I could have had, that girl that I could have had, or what have you. Yeah. So yeah, there was just some kind of lovely connection that we had, and she was a very old soul, so it was very easy to sit and have tea with her and have life chats and what have you. But yeah, so I definitely feel that comfort now, but never went looking for it before. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the other thing too, is that if it's not in your vision, then you know, you're not going to see it. Definitely. What about like bad spirits? Do you get those people coming in?
Well, like in life, there's like people that are really great and good. And then there's people that I call pesky or like lower vibrational kind of people. They might be like, you know, angry all the time, or they might be looking to, you know, take your stuff, or you know, they might have stuff going on. And so the same is in the spirit world. I call them lower vibrational spirits. And, you know, they're not really interested in learning their lessons right now. They're kind of in kindergarten. They, you know, want to just do pesky things. But, you know, are they evil? No. Okay. You know, I haven't met an evil spirit. I've met pesky ones. Okay. And not too many. When I sit there in my meditation, I only ask for spirits that are of my vibration or higher.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, like, is there a way to protect yourself from that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like you wouldn't leave your front door open, right?
Right.
You know, you have a security system and you have, you know, a camera. I have a front doorbell camera. So, you know, you make sure that you're doing the things that to keep the pesky people out.
And did that just come to you, like to learn that, to know that? Did you have like guides to tell you what to do with that, like how to protect yourself? Or
I think I learned that over the years.
Okay.
You know, I had a couple experiences where the pesky spirits came, and you know, I want to say a little bit, you know, unnerving, and it was, you know, it wasn't like scary, but it was like, oh, this isn't great. So I learned over the years how to kind of keep things so that only good spirits come in. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like uneducated, right? Like when you're just starting out and you're thinking, oh, this is great. I used to do like ghost tours, and that's kind of where that happened.
Ghost tours?
For fun. Right?
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
It's fun. You know, paranormal. Have you ever seen those shows like Paranormal State and stuff? Like
I could see that. Like, I would probably do that too.
Kind of like a kid in a candy store. It's like, ooh, let's like say make a noise now, right? And you actually can. There are ghost tour companies in the city, and you can experience it for yourself. It's just that like when you're kind of messing with that kind of stuff, you know, you get the pesky ghost following you home.
You mentioned once, I went to one of your, it was the one you were talking about, the Heaven for the Holidays.
Yeah.
And came to the after, I can't remember what you call it, like the VIP or whatever, the afterward thing.
Question and answer.
Yeah, kind of and you were talking, and I like the way you explained it there. You talked about them being pesky. You'd never met anything evil or anybody evil, but pesky.
Yeah.
And you just ask them to leave. But I like how you explain that there's a lot of people who, I don't know, is it almost like purgatory? Yeah. They leave this life, and time is different there. It's not the same as it is here. It's got, you can't even compare. But they go there, and the crossover can take a very long time for some people because they're not ready yet. They're not ready to give up that earthly anger, bitterness, whatever. And I like that. I understood, that kind of resonated with me. I went, that makes sense. They get there and they're so stubborn they can't give it up yet.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd call it purgatory, but maybe
it's not really, but it's kind of similar.
I would call it the space between.
Yeah.
The space between.
The space between. And it's okay. Like, I mean, everybody has their time, and it's kind of hard to, like, maybe I'll just explain a little bit about that. So somebody said to me, like, what happens to the atheists?
Yeah.
Good question, right? And so what happens when you leave your body, your energy kind of goes into the space of, like, I don't know, awareness, I guess you could call it. And if you're an atheist and you're thinking and you're conscious, you have this consciousness that goes, I'm not here, I'm not in my body anymore, but I'm still thinking. And I still have consciousness. So there must be something more, because I'm still conscious. I'm still having this consciousness, even though I'm not in my body. And then it's almost like immediate. You get embraced by the light. So that's what happens to an atheist. And there's some people, I mean, they're not stuck. Nobody's ever stuck. So I want to make sure that I kind of put that, like, nobody's stuck.
No, not stuck, but they might be there longer than some others.
They may just want to hang out a little longer.
Okay.
That's
Is it because, like, this would be my fear, is that I wouldn't want to let go of, watching over my kids and, just the attachments I have. That love is so strong.
You can totally do that from the other side. And you can do both. You can be there, and you can totally watch over your kids. Because once you're a mom, you're always a mom.
Yeah.
Even from the other side. You'll never miss a day. And your consciousness can expand to the point where you can be there and be here. And there's not really, like, that time and space.
And I imagine you recognize that immediately.
Absolutely. Now, when you go over there and people say, well, what is it like? So I just want to tell you guys what it's like.
You know what it's like?
Of course she does.
Oh my gosh.
I do. Yeah.
Okay, I want to know.
So now, some people may not have this experience in their personal experience, but it is like, when you have a baby and you hold your baby for the first time and you look down and you have all this love, like, it's just like the happiest moment of your life. Like, if you've had children, it is literally the happiest moment when you first hold your baby for the first time. Yeah. That's you going into heaven. You are now being held by love. And that love is holding you with as much love as you held that baby, and that love times 1,000.
Wow.
So that is the love that you run into. And there's a vibration, and it has a sound to it. And the sound it's like a whole bunch of voices blend together singing, and the sound runs through you.
Wow.
Yeah, it runs through you. And the colors are vibrant and iridescent. So every color has all the spectrums of the color in it. And, what you believe here translates to there to give you more comfort. So if you believe in Jesus, you will see Jesus. If you believe in Buddha, you will see the Buddha. And so it's like, it's there because there's 1,001 paths to God. There is nobody that is right over the other. And there's 1,000 ways to get there.
That's beautiful.
That is really lovely because, I have...
Even if you're an atheist.
Yeah.
You
and I have experienced so many different religions trying to find the right one. It's like, which one feels right? And I'm trying to listen to my gut. It's like, there's a little bit there, and there's a little bit there, a little bit, and none of them really resonated with me though, 100%. And it's like I'm just going to try them all so I have all my bases covered here. Okay. I'm going to do everything. But really for me, the one that makes the most sense is just to be in nature, to be connecting and just sitting in awe of this amazing, beautiful world. That's what I find is my religion.
Yeah, and that is God.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm not going to worry so much about doing it wrong and making mistakes.
Not at all.
It's always in the back of my head.
We all end up in the same place.
You're going to mess up.
I stopped worrying about it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Through you, because it just made sense. I don't know.
It's a scary thing. Like, we don't talk a lot about dying. We don't talk a lot about death because we want to avoid it. Meanwhile, we're all going to experience it.
We all came from it. And we're all going to it.
Exactly.
And none of us can escape it.
Yeah. But it used to cause me a lot of anxiousness, a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, there's
I think a lot of people can say that.
A lot of people that are scared of dying.
Yes.
They're terrified, and it's something that's with them all the time. And so people actually come to see me just to talk about their fear of dying.
I wish I had known about that, because there was a time where I would go through
like
severe panic attacks.
Yep.
Yep. And nobody could talk to me about the end of the world. Like if they ever talked about things like that, I'd be like breaking down, freaking out, trying to do breathing exercises because I'm not ready for that to happen. I don't know. I'm not armed, right? And I think because I'm a bit of a control freak like that, right? I was like, I got to do all things, get all my ducks in a row here, make sure I'm doing it all right. And I was not. I just didn't feel like I was. So it freaked me out all the time to the point that I would be having panic attacks. So gosh, yeah, if I had known you back then.
Yeah. People come to me for that reason, just to kind of like, they just want to know, like, where are we going?
Yes.
Oh,
I hope that who's ever listening to this, is getting some comfort just from that even, we need to talk about it more, just like we need to talk about grieving. And
well, I think grieving, death,
where
we go, where we start from, where we come from, because where do we come from? Because if we're going somewhere, it probably means we came from somewhere too, right?
Same place.
Exactly. But people, you don't think of that. People will accept the heaven thing.
Yeah.
But then they kind of don't accept that maybe you already came from there, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Just passing through.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found that I don't think I've ever really been afraid of death, but when Amy died, I didn't care if I lived or died, but it was for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Now, I'm still not afraid of it. I don't necessarily want to go because there's lots that I'm doing here, and I got a beautiful granddaughter and 2 other beautiful daughters. And, my husband and friends and family. And so I don't necessarily want to leave, but I'm not afraid to leave either. But it's for totally different reasons now.
Yeah.
Now it's more of I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
So don't give me a choice.
I know where I'm going.
I don't want a choice.
I want to go where you're going, okay?
Yeah.
Because it just looks beautiful just right from here.
I was interviewed by this documentary, and it was down in LA, and they're like, are you scared to die? I was like, no. The only thing I don't want to do is because I have my kids, right? So I don't want to leave them as a mom. But, otherwise, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay there for a little while.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Is I'm good with that. I'm okay. I know where the don't give me a choice. Don't say, do you want to go here or there?
I'm 150% sure. I know.
Wow.
So
okay, I want to have that. Well,
yeah, lots of people don't have that certainty.
No,
because people go, oh, you never really know, but I know. So
okay, I'm just gonna go off yours.
Yeah,
I'm feeding on it. I'm feeling
That's
it,
great.
and I'm because for me, it's always been about my kids too, and I like that analogy about what you're saying because I actually wrote a poem about it too. It's called Perfect Love, because that is that moment. I can think back even 28 years ago, that moment and seeing that face. It's vivid. That emotion that is connected right there. It's so
pure and beautiful.
Yeah. And it's one you just can never forget.
And you know why it's so pure is because the soul just came from heaven.
Yeah.
You are holding a piece of heaven in your arms.
Yeah.
And it's shiny and new and perfect.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Josh that said it to my middle son, or my middle son said it to the youngest one when he was born. He's like, tell me all about heaven. Tell me all the secrets.
Oh, that's so
whispered
cute.
it to him, right? Because really believed he just came from heaven. Yeah.
Aww,
yeah.
That's sweet.
It was really adorable, actually. Just tell me something. Tell me all the secrets. Oh, it's so lovely.
Yeah.
So lovely.
Well, you've had your share of trauma in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just want to know from you, I know you've had a very difficult year. The past year has been very tough on you.
Yes.
You've not just had personal grief loss, but you've also had, I'm sure, personal relationship, job. We all go through those, but you've had some very difficult, significant grief loss this year.
Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
Well, there's a couple of things that have happened, and probably the biggest thing is my children's other parent passed away this year, and that has been left me being a single mom with 2 very small grieving children.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things that happen, I think, that are quite profound. Was before it happened, my grandmother, who we talked about earlier, appeared to me. I was doing a show in Regina, And I was doing my meditation. I was sitting with Sheena Grob, who I tour with. And, you know, I was talking about this meditation earlier that I do. It's about a half an hour. And in the meditation, she appeared to me and she said to me, somebody very close to you is going to die.
Oh, no.
But you're going to be okay. And so this was the first week in April. And I sat on pins and needles. Like, I thought maybe it's my kids. I just didn't know. So I told all my friends, everybody I knew, thinking like a person would think, if I talk about it enough, if I tell everybody
be on guard,
then everybody will be on guard and nobody's going to die. And 6 weeks later, on May 14th, I got the phone call, and I talk about that to people. Like, you just never know when you're going to get that phone call. And lots of people will get that phone call once in their life where it just hits them out of the blue. It was Monday. It was 5:45 in the evening, and I got these panicked phone calls. And I was sitting in my car, and my ex-partner, her best friend called me, and she said, you have to know that, you know, somebody found her unconscious. And my first thought was like, okay, let me get to the hospital. Like, where is she? You know? And then she said to me, and she didn't make it.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm sitting in my car by myself, you know, at the side of the road. And I just dropped my daughter off at dance class. And I was like, oh my God. Like, my whole world changed in 5 seconds. Yeah. So I'm sure you can appreciate that, Alison.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so you kind of go through this like surprised thing, like, this can't really be happening. And then I think, I'm not too sure, you kind of let out a sound that you let out when something like that happens. And all I could think of was like, what am I supposed to tell my children?
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to tell them that their mom isn't going to be picking them up from school tomorrow? Or any other day. And it's like, I just dropped my kid off at dance class and her whole life is going to change.
Wow.
You know? So, but then I had this thought, because it didn't hit me right in that moment. I was like, oh my gosh, my grandmother told me about that.
Yeah.
And the day before was actually Mother's Day.
Oh.
And so we'd all had brunch for Mother's Day, that Mother's Day. So that was my last time seeing her.
Oh.
And the other mother of my children. And in that Mother's Day brunch, I actually told her about my premonition that somebody was going to die in the family.
I just got goosebumps.
And yeah, I told her that the day before, and less than 24 hours later, she had passed away from a medical condition. So it was absolutely pulled my stomach out and shoved it up my throat, kind of thing. And we were co-parenting, but we had been together since our early 20s. So I'd known her for almost half of my life, for 20 years. And like I said, we were co-parenting. We had Mother's Day brunch together the day before.
That's beautiful.
So, you know, we spent Christmases together, and we've been separated for about 4 years, but we'd been together for, I think, 16. So a long time. And so since then, I've been raising the children essentially as a widow. So,
my goodness, I'm so sorry.
But I really do believe that this experience has deepened my practice, because I remember doing an event probably about a year previous, and I was reading this woman, and obviously I'd never experienced something that profound.
Right.
You know, I'd lost my grandmother, but again, lived a good life, and she was ready to go, and I'd lost my dog, and so but not to that. And I thought to myself, one day I'm going to have that phone call. I just knew it. I just knew my life would include that. And I think for some reason, for myself, and I don't want to talk about other people grieving, I needed that to be able to continue my mission, because I know what it's like to be on the other side of that phone call. You know, I know what it's like. And you want to know what I did? I wrote a medium.
Really?
I really did. Yeah, I have a medium that I use down in Southern California.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I wrote him a letter and I said, because I think you need to wait some time. I said, something happened. I didn't want to tell him what, because I want the full, like, I know he's real for sure, but I wanted to make sure that he had no information, because the least information we have as mediums, the better we are.
Right.
So that's the key. We don't need to know anything.
Right. We don't want to know anything.
We don't want to know anything, because then our mind gets into it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just said, something happened. I want to see you a year from now. And he has a wait list like me, like it's long. And so it's 2 or whatever years. And so he said, yeah, I'll get you in, And then he kind of checked up on me 6 months later. He said, I know, that something's happened, and I'm just making sure that I can still see you. So I have an appointment to see him, because it was May 14th. So this, in the next couple months.
Wow.
So yeah, I believe in them so much. I called my own. So,
well, that was where I was kind of going with that. Was like, who do you go to when something like that happens? And do you get closed off?
Yeah. So his name is Bill Phillips. He's out of Southern California. And so he has a similar wait list. He has a book. He tours. He does the same kind of things as me. Somehow I came upon him a couple of years ago. And, I always kind of joke. I have, a couple different mediums in my will with some money for my kids to go and see mediums. Like, I want them to be able to connect, and my kids know, like, if I go somewhere, there's places for them to go and talk to a medium.
Mm-hmm. And do your kids know what you do and
they
what you're
do.
all about, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing about it is too, they know what I do, but I don't tend to bring their mother up in that way. Like, I don't say, oh, your mom's here.
Yeah.
But she's definitely part of the parenting decision still. And like within the family.
Aww.
So I do ask her, like, what do you think I should do? Or, but I don't, because I don't want to rub up against their wounds. Right.
Right.
I'm really conscious of, like, they know what I can do, but then, if they want to talk to mommy, or if they want, to communicate that way, I can do that for them, but only when they're ready. And they're really not ready for it. Like, but as far as grief is concerned, I think it's so important when people are grieving to give them the time and the space to grieve, and to give them permission to grieve. I think that's the different thing for my kids, is because I'm around it all the time. So I know, and I'm comfortable with, we have her memorial, right outside their bedroom. We put, her voice inside teddy bears. I was able to find, like, a voice clip. We have pictures of her and, like, collages in their room. And so I give them the opportunity to grieve their mom. And I think that's important. Like, if there's anybody out there that has kids that have lost their parents, please let them continue to talk about the parent, keep the parent alive.
Yes.
Almost like they're in the room all the time.
Yeah. I agree with
and
that.
actually, that's the same with everybody.
Yeah.
When you've had a loss, it's important to keep those people as alive as possible, because that helps us. What's really hard is when people won't bring it up.
Yeah.
And
Alison
that's
and I
our
were
society.
talking about that too. We were
It's
talking
like,
about that in the last podcast.
They don't want to ask.
Yeah.
It's like, just because you're not asking doesn't mean it's not there.
No, our society is such that it makes people,
it's like taboo.
It makes them more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They say that they don't want to upset you.
Yeah.
But really, I think it makes them more uncomfortable to talk about it. Because
Absolutely.
and again, like I said, I think we need to teach grief therapy in elementary school. I really do. Like, I think it's part of life.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
it just
because
needs
they're
to be
all going
talked
to
about.
experience it to some
Whether it's
extent,
their hamster, pet
yeah.
hamster, or their grandfather, or their parent, or their sibling, or a friend.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
And it looks differently for everybody too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
And not to judge one person's grief, compare it
absolutely.
with another or what have you, because it is very different for everybody. Just as our everyday reactions and emotions are to different events, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a hard one for people, because they're thinking you're not doing it right. You haven't done it long enough.
Yeah.
You've done,
too short.
I did it this way. You should do it that way. And it's like, well, you're a different person than I am. And
and I said this the other day, and I think this kind of captures it, is your pain and your grief is uniquely designed for you.
Absolutely.
It's like a fingerprint. And so you have to honor it that way. And I think when these things happen to us, it was designed for our life. The pain was designed for us, for our growth and our way of being. Now, I don't want to say that that's the only part to the story, because I think grief and loss are really hard. But it's our journey, and it's only ours to have. And nobody has the right to judge that journey. Or, some people, and it's a journey. There is no destination when grief happens.
No.
When you lose somebody, it's a journey.
It's forever.
And it is.
Yeah.
And nothing is going to make that, all of a sudden healed.
No.
And there is this thing like, time heals. I think, time creates like a distance.
It helps. It helps you learn how to deal with it.
Yeah. And it makes it different, but it doesn't make it better.
No.
There's definitely things you can do. Like, lots of people ask me, like, what can I do? I got an email today from a young lady, and she said she's 20 years old and she lost her mom last year, and her mom's 50.
Oh.
And she said, I just don't know what to do. I've been to mental health counseling. I've done, all these different things, and I still don't feel better. Do you have any tips for me, Lisa?
Oh.
And so I kind of feel like, she's going to be watching this at some point. And the tip is, and I'm learning this for myself, is just be in it. Cry when you need to cry, smile when you need to smile. Don't feel like you have to get through it, because there is no getting through it. There's just being with grief.
Yeah.
And it's like people are just so desperate to get out of it because it's such a yucky feeling. But the more you feel it and the more you express it, the more it starts to dissipate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's no getting out of it. And believe me, I've tried.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We all have.
And it's just devastating when it kind of rips, like, basically, like, even my career. Like, I was in the middle of signing a deal to go and tour down in the States, like, literally days before this happened. And, entertainment people aren't exactly the, I don't know.
Most compassionate?
Yeah. It was like, okay, so when are you touring? It's like, I'm not. I can't leave my kids now. Like, they don't want me to leave. Like, I don't want to leave them. Like, no, there's nothing,
Yeah.
And so there was all these things in the works for me. And it was like, my whole life went from like halftime parenting, where I could tour, on the weeks off, and to really just being at home with my kids. So it just was a real humbling experience.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. And now kids are resilient. So obviously it's still very fresh for them, but they're doing okay.
Well, they've got a very
doing okay.
healthy, they're getting a very healthy perspective on it, and you're not sugarcoating anything, and you're not hiding anything from them. You're allowing them, like you say, to experience their grief.
Yeah.
Experience
Because grief
And
really
that's
is,
healthy.
that there's just all that love still, and just, it never goes away. You're forever going to love that person.
And miss that person. And have your moments. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that, we've had this chance to talk to you. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I actually feel a complete calmness here now. Like, I don't know, maybe I needed to have some things just, clarified for me, or I don't know, somehow you've made me just feel very calm inside. And, knowing, that there is something else, but, right here, what we're doing right now too is so important, and it is all this journey, and it's, so, I mean, we don't want to, glorify all that, even though it is very glorifying. We also want to be present here right now, and be doing the most we can with our lives right now, and connecting with those people that are in our lives. And I think that is something that we need to always make more time for.
Well, that's what our Wildflower project's all about, is the whole connection. And there's nothing to say that connection doesn't continue to spirit.
Yeah.
It's true.
They were a massive part of our lives, and always will be.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
can't get away from that.
No. Look at we got communities growing all over the place.
I know.
Yeah.
It's lovely. And so tell people how they can get a hold of you. And I'm going back to this professional now.
Okay. So you can go to CanadianMedium.com. So, or lisascrivens.com, either one. There's lots of different ways to connect with me. So I'm doing an event here in Winnipeg on May 4th or 3rd. Oh my gosh. It's
I know you have one May 10th.
Okay. So I have a Heaven for the not Heaven for the Holidays, a Night in Heaven, and it's in Brandon on May 3rd and Winnipeg May 4th. Great. And Regina June 21st? No, June 15th. Sorry. That is just a live group reading. So they can come, and we have a promotion on right now. Just if you're part of my group, you can enter the discount code HOPE. And that will give you discounted tickets.
And this is, your group on Facebook?
My group on Facebook.
Okay.
And then we have, so if that's just, it's an evening. And then if you want to spend the day with me, I have some events around Mother's Day. Unfortunately, the Mother's Day one's sold out. But we have one for Father's Day. We have a couple of seats left in that. And one if you've lost a partner. And so those are full day events. The lunch is catered. And people get to spend the whole day with me, and they get a reading, and they get to learn how to connect for themselves. So that's May 10th for Mother's Day, June 14th for Father's Day, and June 21st for if you've lost a partner.
Right.
And then the next thing that I'm doing is for people who are intuitive, who want to learn more. So these are the people that have had a little gift and want to. I have a workshop week, and it's the first week in May. And so we have an intuition, and then a level 2 and a level 3 for people who are experts and want to kind of learn from me. So that's workshop week, and that's always the first week in May.
Nice.
So, very
cool. And
so,
the Heaven for the Holidays, that must be a huge one, because that's a tough one, eh?
Yeah. I mean, Heaven for the Holidays, next year will be the 7th year of Heaven for the Holidays.
Wow.
And so it's always the 3rd Saturday in December. And the holidays are hard.
Yeah.
They're just so hard. And so it's just like a heartwarming evening to come together and grieve. There's always Kleenex and Hershey Kisses on every seat.
Aww.
So. Yeah.
And there's always laughter too.
Yeah, there is. It's not all
there's so
sad,
many things that
but
happen.
Heaven's really funny, you know? Like people they just they want to tease you about your hair and talk about how you chew with your mouth open.
Yeah.
And, they just tell you all these things, because they're funny too, right?
I don't know if you remember.
They're having a good time.
Yeah.
Amy saying to my other daughter, Brooklyn, for God's sake, get your hair cut. It's awful.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
and she did. The very next day, she went and got it cut off. She got it cut super short and adorable.
Yeah. And so they say things because they're having fun up there too. Like if Dad was funny here, Dad's going to be funny there. So, yeah. So nice. Those are ways to connect with me. If you, I forgot to mention. So if you want to come for a private reading, we have a waitlist lottery. So you enter your name on the lottery, and then we pick names at random every 3 months. And so we pick a whole bunch of people, and then we give them a link and a secret code to book an appointment with me. And my schedule pulls up, and they can book it online. And so again, you can go to canadianmedium.com and hit join the waitlist. And so it's really, we call it spirit chosen. And so we don't sit and go through the names. Then they're just random generated names. So that's how you can get an appointment. And I can guarantee
they're spirit chosen.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Absolutely are.
Yeah, I just trust that whoever's meant to see me will see me. And because I live in Winnipeg, people are like, do you still do private readings? And it's like, I do, but I can't get through, the 6,700 people. So I do readings 3 days a week. So, and I read, do between 10 and 15 readings a week. So I still work every day, and I will continue to do that.
And if people are can you do them over the phone? Can you do them via Skype?
So I do Skype readings. So some people aren't from here. Yeah. So if all over the world. So if you put your name on the wait list and you live in England, then you can have a reading from me. Yeah.
Cool.
And the phone works the same way. Your spirit stands next to me and tells me all the information. So just because you're on the phone, it actually works just as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So cool. You're just like such an awesome person.
Aw,
I'm
thanks.
so glad that I got a chance to actually sit down here and talk with you in person. Like I said, I've seen you, but not just to, I don't know, really feel from you like this genuine loveliness that, it's just been so special. So special.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Alison?
Thanks, Alison.
All I can do is say thank you. Because
Thank you so much.
You know how I feel. You have been my lifeline, and we have met far more times than we probably should have. Well, maybe not should have. Obviously, we should
Everything
have because
happens for a reason.
Amy got us together every single time. But from my perspective, personally, thank you. Yeah. And from as far as the Wildflower project, so happy to have you on this.
Thank you so much.
Excited.
Yes.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. And of course, we want to thank Brian here at GW Architecture at 44 Princess for allowing us to record in his beautiful space. That's always so wonderful of him. And until next time, everybody, just keep blooming big time.
Peace.